Rupa Katamayam Tatati Svapadantikam Vandehang Shiguro Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. Good morning to all. So we are going to continue our reading of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, which Srila Prabhupada has so kindly given us. So we first offer our prayers and respects to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. We offer our respects to our beloved Srila Prabhupada. And by offering respects to them, we're able to dive deeper into Shastra or scripture, which allows us to transform ourselves. And it's, before we read, we should ask ourselves, why are we reading? What is it we want to get out of this experience? Either reading or hearing. And nowadays it's very popular to read audiobook, listen to audiobooks. So we're either hearing or reading books, but what is the purpose of our reading, especially scripture? In scripture, we are directly connecting with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his pastimes. We're directly connecting with Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and Srila Prabhupada has many times stated that if you want to know Srila Prabhupada, if you want to connect with Srila Prabhupada, then read his books. So as a sankalpa or intention, we can all ask ourselves, well, why am I hearing? Why am I reading? And so we're going to be transformed by hearing about these beautiful pastimes. So we're reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Antya Lila, chapter 1, entitled Rupa Goswami's Second Meeting with the Lord, text number 1. Pangum langayate shailam, mukam avartayet shrutim, yat kripatam aham vande, Krishna Chaitanyam Ishvaram. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a lame man can cross over a mountain and a dumb man recite Vedic literature. Durgame patime dasya skalat pada gater muhu svakripa yashti danena santa santva valambanam. My path is very difficult. I am blind and my feet are slipping again and again. Therefore, may the saints help me by granting me the stick of their mercy as my support. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunat, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunat, Echai Gurura Karan Charana Vandan, Yaha Hoite Vignana Shabishta Puran. I pray to the lotus feet of the six Goswamis, Shri Rupa, Sanatana, Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva, Gopala Bhatta, and Dasa Raghunath, so that all impediments to my writing this literature will be annihilated and my real desire will be fulfilled. Purport. If one wants to benefit the entire world, he will certainly find persons like hogs and pigs who will put forward many impediments. That is natural. But if a devotee seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the six Goswamis, the merciful Goswamis will certainly give the Lord's servitor all protection. It is not astonishing that impediments are placed before those who are spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Nevertheless, if we adhere to the lotus feet of the six Goswamis and pray for their mercy, all impediments will be annihilated, and the transcendental devotional desire to serve the Supreme Lord will be fulfilled. Well, it's a very powerful meditation that we're starting with. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's saying that a layman can cross over a mountain, a dumb man can recite Vedic literature by the mercy of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's talking about how his own path is very difficult. And some days we wake up and we feel like our feet are slipping again and again. We're blind. Therefore, may the saints help us by granting us the stick of their mercy as our support. And then he himself prays to the six Goswamis. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's a contemporary of Srila Jiva Goswami, of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and yet he's praying for their mercy. So he's showing us by example on how to follow in the footsteps of the saints and become a saint, is that we pray to the saints and then they'll kick out all impediments. Even Srila Prabhupada once stated, by calling out to Srila Prabhupada, he can kick out all of our impediments to our devotional service. So text 5. Jayatam Sarator Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano. Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagada Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Deva Krishtali Bhisevyamano Smarami. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsi Vata Tatastataha Karshan Venus Vaner Gopir Gopi Nata Shriyestunaha. Sri Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands on the shore at Vamsivat and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benediction. These three, could say, mantras are in glorification of the three most important deities in Vrindavan: Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Radha Govinda, and Shri Radha Gopinath. And in the beginning of Caitanya Charitamrta, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that these three deities are the very life and soul of all those who are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Those who follow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these three deities are their life and soul. And here in New Bhadrak Ashram, our life and soul is Shri Radha Govinda. And these mantras are very, very special. When we especially read Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada, Shriman Rasa Rasarambi, these mantras, as stated by Srila Jiva Goswami, this is called Mantra Upasana Mai. So Mai means like the energy or trying to do something, you could say. And mantra upasana. Upasana means worship, and mantra, all of us are very familiar with the word mantra, but mantra literally means mana, tra, that which delivers the mind. So these three mantras especially gives us a glimpse into the spiritual world. So when we read this in a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, so everybody can picture in their mind a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath the desire tree, Shri Radha Govinda are served by their most confidential associates. They sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. So in Mantra Upasana Mai, we're taking this beautiful image, this mantra, and by reciting it and meditating upon it, it's like a still picture in Goloka Vrindavan. So this mantra upasana, right there, and by meditating more and more on this still picture, then what will happen is our heart and mind, it will flow with the Lilas or the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So this is why Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is giving us these very powerful images. Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the Rasa dance, stands on the shore at Vamsivat and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. So it's giving us this mental picture of Krishna standing on the shore at Vamsivat playing his flute. And by meditating upon this picture more and more, we're able to dive deeper into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Text number 8. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I have briefly described the pastimes of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu known as the Madhya Lila. Now I shall attempt to describe something about his last pastimes, which are known as the Antya Lila. I have briefly described the Antya Lila within the description of the Madhya Lila. I'm now almost an invalid because of old age, and I know that at any moment I may die. Therefore, I've already described some portions of the Antya Lila. Purport. Following in the footsteps of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I am trying to translate Srimad Bhagavatam as quickly as possible. However, knowing myself to be an old man and almost an invalid because of rheumatism, I have already translated the essence of all literatures, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, as a summary study in English, which is known as Krishna book. I started the Krishna consciousness movement at the age of 70. Now I'm 78, and so my death is imminent. I'm trying to finish the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam as soon as possible, but before finishing it, I have given my readers the book Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that if I die before finishing the whole task, they may enjoy this book, which is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you're not able to read the entire Srimad Bhagavatam because of our busy lives or whatever may be the case, just by reading Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you're reading the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada's mercy upon us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 12. Purvalikita Granta Sutra Anusare Ye Nahi Likitaha Likeya Vistare. In accordance with the synopsis previously written, I shall describe in detail whatever I have not mentioned. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri from Vrindavan, Srila Damodar Goswami immediately sent news of the Lord's arrival to the devotees in Bengal. Upon hearing this news, Mother Sachi and all the other devotees of Navadvip were very joyful, and they all departed together for Nilachala, Jagannath Puri. Thus all the devotees of Kulinagram and Srikanda, as well as Advaita Acharya, came together to meet Sivananda Sena. Sivananda Sena arranged for the journey. He maintained everyone and provided residential quarters. While going to Jagannath Puri, Sivananda Sena allowed a dog to go with him. He supplied it food to eat and maintained it. Now, this is very powerful pastime because we see in the morning how people are walking their dogs, taking care of their dogs. Same thing at night. So many people are taking care of dogs. During this time in India, though, it was not so familiar to really take care of a dog. Even now, some of you might have gone to India and have seen how dogs, most of the dogs, if not all, almost all of the dogs are stray dogs. They're just living on the streets, wild. So it's amazing how this most intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's maintaining and supplying everything to all the devotees who are traveling to Jagannath Puri, but he also allowed a dog to go with him. So one day, when they needed to cross a river, an Orison boatman would not allow the dog to get in the boat. Sivananda Sena, unhappy that the dog had to stay behind, paid the boatman 10 pana of conch shells to take the dog across the river. Purport: 1 pana is 80 cutties, or small conch shells. Formerly, even 50 or 60 years ago, there was no paper currency in India. Coins were generally made not of base metal, but of gold, silver, and copper. In other words, the medium of exchange was really something valuable. 4 pieces of cutty made 1 ganda, and 20 such gandas equaled 1 pana. This cutty was also used as a medium of exchange. Therefore, Sivananda Sena paid for the dog with dasha pana, or 80 times 10 pieces of cutty. In those days, 1 paisa was also subdivided into small conch shells, but at the present moment, the prices for commodities have gone so high that there is nothing one can get in exchange for only 1 paisa. With 1 paisa in those days, however, one could purchase sufficient vegetables to provide for a whole family. Even 30 years ago, vegetables were occasionally so inexpensive that 1 paisa's worth could provide for a whole family for a day. So Srila Prabhupada is speaking about inflation, which is very much going on today. Everybody's very much talking about inflation and even cryptocurrency. And so we can see how coins were generally made not of base metal, but of gold, silver, and copper. And now we have paper currency and inflation is going up. So Srila Prabhupada, even though he's speaking of something in India, something very long ago, for us, it's still very quite relevant today. So his point is that Sivananda Sena paid a lot of money for this dog to get on a boat to cross a river because the boatman didn't want the dog to be in his boat. So one day, while Sivananda was detained by a tollman, his servant forgot to give the dog its cooked rice. At night, when Sivananda Sena returned and was taking his meal, he inquired from the servant whether the dog had gotten its meals. When he learned that the dog had not been supplied food in his absence, he was very unhappy. He then immediately sent 10 men to find the dog. When the men returned without success, Sivananda Sena became very unhappy and fasted for the night. In the morning, they looked for the dog, but it could not be found anywhere. All the Vaishnavas were astonished. Purport. Sivananda Sena's attachment to the dog was a great boon for that animal. The dog appears to have been a street dog, since it naturally began to follow Sivananda Sena while he was going to Jagannath Puri with his party. He accepted it into his party and maintained it the same way he was maintaining the other devotees. It appears that although on one occasion the dog was not allowed aboard a boat, Sivananda did not leave the dog behind, but paid more money just to induce the boatman to take the dog across the river. Then when the servant forgot to feed the dog and the dog disappeared, Sivananda, being very anxious, sent 10 men to find it. When they could not find it, Sivananda observed a fast. Thus it appears that somehow or other, Sivananda had become attached to the dog. As will be evident from the following verses, the dog got the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was immediately promoted to Vaikuntha to become an eternal devotee. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has therefore sung, Tumita Thakura Tomara Kukura Baliya Janaha More, from Sharanagati 19. He thus offers to become the dog of a Vaishnav. There are many other instances in which the pet animal of a Vaishnav was delivered back home to Vaikuntha Loka, back to Godhead. Such is the benefit of somehow or other becoming the favorite of a Vaishnav. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has also sung, Kita Janmaho Yata Tura Das, from Sharanagati 11. There is no harm in taking birth again and again. Our only desire should be to take birth under the care of a Vaishnav. Fortunately, we had the opportunity to be born of a Vaishnav father who took care of us very nicely. He prayed to Srimati Radharani that in the future we would become a servant of the eternal consort of Sri Krishna. Thus, somehow or other, we are now engaged in that service. We may conclude that even as dogs, we must take shelter of a Vaishnav. The benefit will be the same as that which accrues to an advanced devotee under a Vaishnav's care. Text 25. Thus, in great anxiety, they all walked to Jagannath Puri, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them as usual. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went with them to see the Lord in the temple, and on that day he also took lunch in the company of all those devotees. As previously, the Lord provided them all with residential quarters, and the next morning all the devotees came to see the Lord. When all the devotees came to the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they saw the same dog sitting a little apart from the Lord. Furthermore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was throwing remnants of green coconut pulp to the dog. Smiling in his own way, he was saying to the dog, "Chant the holy names, Rama, Krishna, and Hari." Seeing the dog eating the green coconut pulp and chanting Krishna, Krishna again and again, all the devotees present were very surprised. When he saw the dog sitting in that way and chanting the name of Krishna, Sivananda, because of his natural humility, immediately offered his obeisances to the dog just to counteract his offenses to it. The next day, no one saw that dog, for it had attained its spiritual body and departed for Vaikuntha, the spiritual kingdom. Purport: this is the result of sadhu sangha, consequent association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and promotion back home, back to Godhead. This result is possible even for a dog by the mercy of the Vaishnav. Therefore, everyone in the human form of life should be induced to associate with devotees by rendering a little service, even by eating prasadam. What to speak of chanting and dancing, everyone can be promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. It is therefore requested that all our devotees in the ISKCON community become pure Vaishnavas, so that by their mercy, all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuntha Loka even without their knowledge. Everyone should be given a chance to take prasadam and thus be induced to chant the holy names Hare Krishna and also dance in ecstasy. By these three processes, although performed without knowledge or education, even an animal went back to Godhead. Text 33. Such are the transcendental pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi. He even delivered a dog simply by inducing it to chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. I often reflect on this pastime in regards to Bharat Maharaj. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, there's the pastime of Maharaj Bharat, who most of us might know, he becomes attached to a deer. He becomes so attached to the deer that even when he is sitting down for meditation, performing his morning rituals, doing so many things, he keeps looking for this deer that is attached to him. He's attached to the deer. He would hug the deer. There's even the painting in Srimad Bhagavatam where he's kissing the deer. And so he became so absorbed in thinking and meditating about this deer that in his next life, he received a deer body. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita states in the 8th chapter that whatever one thinks of at the time of death, wherever your consciousness is flowing at the time of death, that's where you go. And so here it's interesting because Sivananda Sena became attached to a dog, but his attachment was not necessarily the same kind of attachment as Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj, because of previous, you could say samskars, previous impressions in the mind to take care and kind of be the controller, he wanted to take care and receive sense gratification from this deer ultimately, whereas Sivananda Sena was such a powerful devotee that he saw the dog in the spiritual vision. He did not consider the dog to be a source of sense gratification. He did not think the dog to, he wasn't constantly meditating on the dog in the sense of sense gratification. He was doing it in service. The dog had joined the party that was going to Jagannath Puri, and so he was taking care of the dog in the same way that he would take care of the rest of the Vaishnavas. And even not knowing anything, the dog received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and went back home, back to Godhead. So to become the object of affection or attention of a Vaishnav is very powerful. And so this is very amazing pastime to really think about in terms of becoming dear to the Vaishnavas. And then also Prabhupada requesting that all the devotees in ISKCON become pure devotees, so that by their mercy, all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuntha Loka even without their knowledge. Sometimes it's very much stressed that, oh, we have to, know particularly what we're doing every time of the day. And not to go into a little tangent here, but it's amazing how by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, one can go back home, back to Godhead, even without having any knowledge of what they're actually receiving. So very powerful pastime to really meditate on. And so now Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami shifts gears a little bit here. So the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered a dog simply by inducing it to chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna. Text 34. Meanwhile, following the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami returned to Vrindavan. He desired to write dramas concerning the pastimes of Lord Krishna. In Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami began to write a drama or nataka. In particular, he composed the introductory verses to invoke good fortune. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes from the Nataka Chandrika, wherein it is written, and he quotes Sanskrit but does not give the translation. Similarly, in the 6th chapter of the Sahitya Darpana, text 282, it is said, Ashir Vachana Samayukta Stutir Yasmat Pariyujate Deva Dvija Nir Padinam Tasman Nanditi Sangita. The introductory portion of a drama, which is written to invoke good fortune, is called Nandi Shloki. So Sahitya Darpana, Nataka Chandrika, these are books that go through the systematic presentation of drama or natika, and especially Sahitya Darpana, which Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, Srila Rupa Goswami, they wrote some commentaries on, and even wrote their own works on how to properly present dramas, plays, natikas in presenting Krishna consciousness. On his way to Godadesh, Rupa Goswami had been thinking of how to write the action of the drama. Thus, he had made some notes and begun to write. In this way, the two brothers Rupa and Anupam reached Bengal, but when they arrived there, Anupam died. Purport. Formerly, when a person died, it was commonly said that he had attained the shelter of Mother Ganges, even if he did not die on the bank of the Ganges. It is customary among Hindus to carry a dying person to a nearby bank of the Ganges, for if one dies on the bank of the Ganges, his soul is considered to reach the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, wherefrom the Ganges flows. So Anupam is the brother of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. And while we're speaking about Nataka dramas and even poetry in drama, there's a lot of poetical verses and what is called alankara, or you could say embellishments. And so when one glorifies the Lord, they use a type of glorification where they compare Krishna to something of this world. So in poetry, you could say Krishna's eyes were like a lotus flower. Krishna's feet were like lotus flowers. And so you're comparing Krishna's beauty to the beauty of this material world. But Anupam, who is the brother of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, Anupam means that which cannot be compared with anything. So it's a name of Krishna that when we're in the beginning sadhaka stages, we're practicing devotional service, we use a lot of alliteration and metaphors to describe the beauty of Krishna, comparing Krishna and Radha to the objects of this material world. But then when you become a little bit more advanced, you realize actually Krishna's beauty can't be compared to anything. It's unable to be compared to anything. Then Anupam, you're not able to compare it to anything. So just for some deeper meaning of Anupam here. Text 38. Rupa Goswami then departed to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for he was very eager to see him. There was some delay because of the death of Anupam, and therefore when Rupa Goswami went to Bengal to see the devotees there, he could not get in touch with them because they had already left. In the province of Orissa, there's a place known as Satyabhamapur. Srila Rupa Goswami rested for a night in that village on his way to Jagannath Puri. Purport. There's a place known as Satyabhamapur in the district of Cuttack in Orissa. It is near the village known as Jankadeyipura. Text 41. While resting in Satyabhamapura, he dreamed that a celestially beautiful woman came before him and very mercifully gave him the following order. Write a separate drama about me, she said. By my mercy, it will be extraordinarily beautiful. After having that dream, Srila Rupa Goswami considered, it is the order of Satyabhama that I write a separate drama for her. I've brought together in one work all the pastimes performed by Lord Krishna in Vrindavan and in Dwarka. Now I shall have to divide them into two dramas. So Satyabhama is one of the queens, 16,108 queens in Dwarka. She is one of the main queens of Krishna in Dwarka with Rukmini. So Satyabhama herself came to Rupa Goswami, who is writing one play about Vrindavan pastimes and Dwarka pastimes, and she told him to split them in two. Thus absorbed in thought, he quickly reached Jagannath Puri. When he arrived, he approached the hut of Haridas Thakur. Out of affectionate love and mercy, Haridas Thakur told Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already informed me that you would come here. After seeing the Upala Bhoga ceremony at the Jagannath temple, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would regularly come to see Haridas every day. Thus, he suddenly arrived there. When the Lord arrived, Rupa Goswami immediately offered his obeisances. Haridas informed the Lord, this is Rupa Goswami offering you obeisances, and the Lord embraced him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sat down with Haridas and Rupa Goswami. They inquired from one another about auspicious news and then continued to talk together for some time. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired about Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami replied, I did not meet him. I came by the path on the bank of the Ganges, whereas Sanatana Goswami came by the public road. Therefore, we did not meet. In Prayag, I heard that he had already gone to Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami next informed the Lord about the death of Anupam. After allotting residential quarters there to Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. Then all of the Lord's personal associates met Srila Rupa Goswami. On the next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again met Rupa Goswami, and with great mercy, the Lord introduced him to all the devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami offered his respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of them all, and all the devotees, by their mercy, embraced him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Advaita Acharya Nityananda Prabhu, you should both show your mercy wholeheartedly to Rupa Goswami. May Rupa Goswami, by your mercy, become so powerful that he will be able to describe the transcendental mellows of devotional service. Thus, Rupa Goswami became the object of love and affection for all the devotees of the Lord, including those who came from Bengal and those who resided in Orissa. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to see Rupa Goswami, and whatever prasadam he received from the temple, he would deliver to Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur. He would talk for some time with them both, and then leave to perform his noontime duties. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dealings with them continued every day, thus receiving the transcendental favor of the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami felt unlimited pleasure. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking all his devotees with him, performed the Gundicha Marjana, washing and cleansing of the Gundicha temple, he went to the garden known as Ayutthaya and accepted prasadam at a picnic within the garden. When Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw that all the devotees were accepting prasadam and chanting the holy name of Hari, they both were greatly pleased. When they received the remnants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prasadam through Govinda, they respected it, and then they both began to dance in ecstasy. On the next day, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to see Srila Rupa Goswami, the omniscient Lord spoke as follows: do not try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan, for he does not go anywhere else at any time. Krishnonyo yadu sambhuto yapurna sostyata puraha Vrindavanam parityaja svakachinaiva gachati. The Krishna known as Yadu Kumar is Vasudeva Krishna. He is different from the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Yadu Kumar Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwarka. But Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. Purport: this verse is included in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita 1.5.461 by Srila Rupa Goswami. After saying this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to perform his noontime duties, leaving Srila Rupa Goswami somewhat surprised. Satyabhama ordered me to write 2 different plays. Srila Rupa Goswami thought, now I understand that this order has been confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Formerly, I wrote the 2 dramas as one composition. Now I shall divide it and describe the incidents in 2 separate works. I shall write 2 separate invocations of good fortune and 2 different introductions. Let me think deeply about the matter and then describe 2 different sets of incidents. Purport: the 2 works are the Vidagdha Madhava and the Lalita Madhava. The Vidagdha Madhava describes pastimes in Vrindavan, and the Lalita Madhava describes pastimes in Dwarka and Mathura. During the Rath Yatra ceremony, Rupa Goswami saw Lord Jagannath. He also saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting in front of the Rath, the cart. When Rupa Goswami heard a verse uttered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the ceremony, he immediately composed another verse dealing with the same subject. I have already described all these incidents, but I still wish to add briefly something more. Generally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited a verse while dancing and chanting before the cart, but no one knew why he was reciting that particular verse. Only Srup Damodar Goswami knew the purpose for which the Lord recited that verse. According to the Lord's attitude, he used to quote other verses to enable the Lord to relish mellows. Rupa Goswami, however, could understand the intention of the Lord, and thus he composed another verse that appealed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here is the verse that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited while dancing in front of the Rath Yatra cart. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. Purport. This is the verse recited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This verse is actually a verse from the Kavya Prakash. So the Kavya Prakash was used to teach students Sanskrit. And so reciting this Kavya Prakash Sanskrit verse, it's like if somebody were in front of Radha Govinda in the temple room and they started singing a love song that is popular amongst all people in the West. So think of your favorite Backstreet Boys or Celine Dion or whatever it may be, love song that you've heard on the radio over the years, and somebody sings in front of Shishi Radha Govinda. This would be similar to that Kavya Prakash. It's a Sanskrit work to teach children Sanskrit, and so they would learn this verse, and it was like a popular kind of like love song. And now we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh yeah, my sweet Lord, Brother George. Yeah, thanks, Tara. Yeah, so what George Harrison was doing. So we have this song sung by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so what Srila Rupa Goswami does is he gives a verse that completely interprets what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. So the next verse is, my dear friend, now I've met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of a sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. Purport. This is the verse composed by Srila Rupa Goswami. It is included in the Padyavali, an anthology of verses he compiled. Text 80. After writing this verse on a palm leaf, Rupa Goswami put it somewhere in his thatched roof and went to bathe in the sea. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there to meet him, and when he saw the leaf pushed into the roof and saw the verse, he began to read it. After reading the verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. At that very time, Rupa Goswami returned, having finished bathing in the sea. Seeing the Lord, Sri Rupa Goswami fell flat in the courtyard to offer his obeisances. The Lord slapped him mildly in love and spoke as follows. My heart is very confidential. How did you know my mind in this way? After saying this, he firmly embraced Rupa Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that verse and showed it to Srup Damodar for him to examine. Then the Lord questioned him, how could Rupa Goswami have understood my heart? The Lord asked. Swarupa Damodar replied, I can understand that you have already bestowed your causeless mercy upon him. No one could otherwise understand this meaning. I can therefore guess that previously you bestowed upon him your causeless mercy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, Rupa Goswami met me at Prayag. Knowing him to be a suitable person, I naturally bestowed my mercy upon him. I thereupon also bestowed upon him my transcendental potency. Now you also should give him instructions. In particular, instruct him in transcendental mellows. Swarupa Damodar said, as soon as I saw the unique composition of this verse, I could immediately understand that you had bestowed upon him your special mercy. Palena pala karanam anumiyate. By seeing a result, one can understand the cause of that result. Purport, this verse is from the doctrines of Nyaya, or logic. The river Ganges, flowing in the heavenly planets, is full of golden flowers, and we, the residents of those planets, eat the stems of the flowers. Thus, we are very beautiful, more so than the inhabitants of any other planet. This is due to the law of cause and effect. For if one eats food in the mode of goodness, the mode of goodness increases the beauty of his body. Purport. One's bodily luster and beauty, one's constitution, one's activities, and one's qualities all depend on the law of cause and effect. There are three qualities in material nature, and as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 13:22, Karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. One takes birth in a good or bad family according to his previous association with the qualities of material nature. Therefore, one seriously eager to achieve transcendental perfection, Krishna consciousness, must eat Krishna prasadam. Such food is sattvika, or in the material quality of goodness, but when offered to Krishna, it becomes transcendental. Our Krishna consciousness movement distributes Krishna prasadam, and those who eat such transcendental food are sure to become devotees of the Lord. This is a very scientific method as stated in this verse from Nala Naishadha 3:17. If in all his activities a person strictly adheres to the mode of goodness, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness and ultimately become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the bodily constitutions of the leaders of society, especially the governmental leaders, are polluted. As described in Srimad Bhagavatam 12:140, asamskritya kriyahina rajasa tamasyavritaha prajaste bhakshyasyanti mlecha rajanarupana. Such leaders have no chance to purify their eating. Politicians meet together and exchange good wishes by drinking liquor, which is so polluted and sinful that naturally drunkards and meat eaters develop a degraded mentality in the mode of ignorance. The processes of eating in different modes are explained in the Bhagavad Gita, wherein it is stated that those who eat rice, wheat, vegetables, milk products, fruit, and sugar are situated in the elevated quality of goodness. Therefore, if we want a happy and tranquil political situation, we must select leaders who eat Krishna prasadam. Otherwise, the leaders will eat meat and drink wine, and thus they will be asamskrityaha, unreformed and kriyahina, devoid of spiritual behavior. In other words, they will be malechas and yavanas, or men who are unclean in their habits. Through taxation, such men exploit the citizens as much as possible, and in this way, they devour the citizens of the state instead of benefiting them. We therefore cannot expect a government to be efficient if it is headed by such unclean mlechas and yavanas. So we want the Shakti of Krishna, we have to eat Krishna prasadam and purify our life. And so it's very powerful, these two pastimes today, how Sivananda Sena was attached to a dog. Because of that attachment, the dog was liberated to Vaikuntha. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gives his mercy to Srila Rupa Gosvami, he's able to understand the heart of God. And so when we're reading Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta scripture, we want to try to understand the heart of God. That's what we're doing when we're reading the scriptures, because the scriptures are revealing the heart of God. And Srila Prabhupada has been empowered to give us these scriptures and these amazing purports, which takes us to our present day situation on how powerful it is to eat that food which is offered in sacrifice to Krishna. How powerful just that process is. What else, what to speak of chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So even if we're not perfect in this life, we can sincerely pray to become the dog of a Vaishnav in our next life, so that we get the mercy of that Vaishnav, so that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can throw green coconut pulp at us and induce us to chant the holy names of Krishna. So very powerful examples here to really dive into and meditate on. Thank you for kindly listening. If there's any reflections or if there's anything anyone wants to add before we conclude our Sunday reading.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Obeisances. Thanks so much. I was just reflecting on a pastime with Vaisheshika Prabhu and the devotees circumambulating Govardhan, a dog that joined them for some time. And I heard that Vaisheshika Prabhu offered obeisances to the dog, and gave, respectful treatment. So, yeah, it's amazing. And also reflecting on how we can understand through this study, like you're doing, the heart of Srila Prabhupada, and be able to have that love for all living entities, all the devotees, and that way everyone will progress so nicely. So thank you very much for very enlivening reading. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna, thank you.